widely at all. No wide release or no wide release on directed videos, no wide release for limited theatrical release. It was released just once, and I think that was for a promotional deal or something like that. I can't really remember. I think it was released just once, and that was it. It was pulled after that. And I think it's because of the fact of its content, which is why it got a PG-13 rating. Now, again, I think Liu had probably intentions and plans to release this under the Filmation name back when Filmation was still kind of in business. Maybe he was planning to do that, but unfortunately that didn't happen and he had to do it independently. And even though he got the rating he needed, nobody wanted to get behind it, I guess, and release it theatrically or as a direct-to-home video movie. So yeah, that's basically what happened in the long run with Filmation. And again, my honest opinion is I thought they were still kind of around until recently, like maybe mid-2000s or something like that. I had no idea they had died basically 22 years, 25 years ago. I had no idea that had happened. I mean, you want to know how bad Filmation was in the red to bankruptcy to basically, you want to know how bad they were? They were literally, and I don't mean any offense by this, they were literally on their deathbed getting someone to distribute the film Happily Ever After theatrically. Because I think they did get somebody, I can't think of it, to do Pinocchio, but they couldn't find anybody else because they were so in the red, they were on their deathbed, that they basically had to get somebody to come out and distribute them. And the person they got, and the people they got were First National Film Institute. Yeah, First National Film. Go figure, right? But that's basically what they got. First National Film are the people that distributed the film Happily Ever After theatrically. And again, just like Pinocchio, I remember seeing advertisements for it. So, and here's what's funny. There's no doubt in my mind, Lou Schumacher and Filmation, they had good intentions. I just think they basically just didn't go through the right channels. They didn't come out right out and ask Disney, hey, can we do this? And I think that's what caused them a lot of trouble. I think that's what did it. So, I mean, and when you take a look at how in Happily Ever After, and I think even with Pinocchio, how some of the characters have been switched around so that there is no real identification. I mean, I'm sure with Happily Ever After and Emperor of Night, they were going to bring in new characters anyway, because with sequels, it's commonly known, animated or live action, that at most times you got to bring in a new character or so to be part of the group. So with both those movies, it probably wasn't it was probably already in the works that was going to happen. Which is why when you look at the dwarf elves in Happily Ever After, you look at them and you see why all 7 of them are female. Basically, they had the idea, I'm pretty sure of this, that, okay, Snow White met the 7 dwarfs who are all male, who are all men, in the first film, in Disney's movie, so why not have her, if we're continuing the story, meet the female cousins? And a lot of the female cousins look very human, except for Critterina, or Critterella, or whatever her name is. The Critter Girl, Critterina. She basically looks like a freaking anamorphic chipmunk. Which is kind of strange because there are several people on DeviantArt that draw her as a Tibet. But yeah, her nose is like an animal's nose, so I guess she's part rodent or part animal. She basically looks like, if you take her out of the equations, that Critter Girl, it's like, you could place her with, and replace everybody else with, it's like, you wouldn't even know she's an elf. or a dwarf elf. You wouldn't even know that she's a dwarf elf. You wouldn't know that whatsoever. You wouldn't know that, at all, that she's a dwarf elf. You wouldn't. And the other characters kind of stand out in a sense as well. But you look at the Critterella, you look at Thunderella, and you're like, this is a kid? You got a kid part of the dwarf elves, and you got a freaking anamorphic animal as a dwarf elf? It's like, what's the deal? What's going on? But I think that's what Filmation had originally intended, was the fact that instead of going back with the dwarves, even if Disney had given them permission, they were going to go with the dwarf elves instead. I think that was the intentions in the first place. So, but overall, I'm not going to look back that much. I'm not going to look back at Filmation and think they didn't do good contributions, because they did. They gave us some good television shows, animated and even live action. They did do some decent films back in the late 60s, throughout the 70s, and even early to mid 80s. But I think it's when they decided to go in the direction to do sequels to the Disney classics is what really got them in trouble, because they didn't get the permission from Disney to do that. So I think that's what really kind of hurt them in the end. I think maybe they thought, like some of you are thinking, that it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. They're universal stories. But if you're adapting from the first movies that Disney had done, from Disney's adaptions, then yeah, it's going to be you're basically going to get yourself in a whole heap of trouble, which they did. So even though their intentions, in my opinion, probably were good, I think they didn't realize that they were doing what I look at as the first form of copyright. Basically doing, as I mentioned earlier, unofficial, unauthorized adaptations or sequels to the Disney classics. So I don't think they realized that they were going to cause trouble. I don't think they thought there was going to be any harm, no foul, but there was. So that's what, again, Pinocchio, Emperor of the Night started the bleeding, and I think Happily Ever After is what killed it off. And basically Happily Ever After, and as Animat put it, killed it off. So that's all I'm going to say on Filmation on this edition of the Cartoon Flashback HD. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. And watch Animat's reviews and his Let's Watch, which is on Happily Ever After. And I'll talk to you all later.